it's not unusual when I go to traveling through airports, you know, fans will say hello and want to know what I'm up to. And at this time I was in the cutting stages of this film called Canvas, and they wanted to know what it was about, and I told them what it was about. I would say, well, it's a film about what happens to a family when mental disease is introduced into the family, how it affects the family in the neighborhood. And they would always say, no kidding, me too, my brother, blah, 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 my sister, blah. Through the course of making the film, I came to understand that I too was living with an emotional disease that was getting to the point where my life had become unmanageable. And so after the film was done, I asked for help and got it. When I was diagnosed with clinical depression, for me it was fantastic news. It wasn't my fault. As I continued on the road to recovery, I came to find out that there was a lot of shame, bigotry, discrimination attached to any kind of brain disease. No Kidding Me Too is a nonprofit organization that uses celebrity to encourage those who are dealing with mental unrest to talk about it, seek treatment, ask for help, and also through film and education, demanding equal rights for the all-American brains. Action. I'm Joey Pantoliano, founder and president of No Kidding Me Too.
I'm Joe Santiago.
I'm Bob Irvin.
Hi, I'm
The kind of documentaries around depression or any kind of mental disease were always bleak and hopeless. And what I was seeing out there in real life was the complete opposite. I decided that this is something that needed to be addressed. ADHD.
Bipolar, ADHD.
Suffered traumatic brain injury in Iraq.
dyslexia.
Schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and bipolar disorder.
What I wanted to investigate, I think initially, was why the shame, where's the shame, why is so many people afraid of it? But then I came to understand about the co-occurring nature of addiction and brain disease. Infotainment. The idea behind No Kidding Me Too is to make the conversation cool and trendy, so that you talk about your emotional life like you would talk about having the common cold, and to create a kind of emotional hygiene, like they teach kids with hygiene at school. You know, if a kid comes home with hair lice, he's not freaked out. He doesn't think there's something, you know, terribly wrong with him, because it's been worked into the psyche that it's okay to have it.
3 pounds of flesh control my life. All of the happiness, all of the sadness in my heart. The doctor said, you live with clinical depression, it's not your fault.
You know, the film came out in 2010, and it won the SAMHSA Hope Award for Best Featured Documentary that year, and it's becoming more and more popular. When I go onto my Facebook page, or the NKM2 Facebook page, more and more people are seeing it, and I've been invited all over the world, actually, with this film. I met Paul Summergrad through Dr. Richard Lerner, who I gave a rough cut of Canvas to. They became advocates for what we were doing with No Kidding Me Too. Well, you know, Paul is featured in this documentary, and I've always been a fan of his, and he's been a real supporter of our movie and what we, you know, and what we're trying to say with NKM2. So to be able to show it to the top docs in the field and to have an open conversation afterwards is very appealing to me. The more people in high profile talk about it, it allows others to feel safe enough for them to start to talk about it.
All we're talking about is brain chemistry and the alteration of brain chemistry. And whether it's doing a drug, having 5 different sexual partners, or cutting yourself, it's all the same addiction.
I don't look at this as a stigma. I look at it as more equal rights. By calling it stigma, it gives the person a chance to get off the hook. It's stigma. It's bigotry. We are all on something. We are overeating, overdrinking, overdrugging, overworking. We're all doing something to get away from these feelings that lead us to these addictions. And the sooner we can have an open conversation and discussion about it, the faster the healing can begin.